All right. Welcome, everyone. We are going to just give one or two more minutes. I see people trickling in. So, one or two more minutes for people to get on, and then we will get started. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Macy Brink, and I am with the IT company. And we have been partnering with Jolynn for, gosh, probably 2 years now, doing some
Yes.
virtual trainings. And she has done tons and tons for us, especially around the Microsoft and Copilot and all of that. And today is our first one on Claude. And so we are excited for you all to be joining us as Jolynn kind of dives in and shares her expertise on Claude with you. So I'm going to hand it over to Jolynn, and she will take it from here.
Sounds good. So just a couple of housekeeping things for everyone. If you do have any questions, feel free to enter them in the Zoom chat. We'll do our best to get your answers as we go along, but we will have time at the end for some Q&A as well. And just so everybody knows, we are recording our session here today. So first off, I wanted to just welcome everyone. So today is more of a getting started with Claude AI. This is a beginner-friendly session, so the goal isn't to really memorize every feature that is available in the application. The goal is really to understand what Claude is good at and how to ask better questions and really how to receive the output that you can use right away for real work. So let's begin by getting a clear understanding as to what Claude actually is. So Claude is a conversational AI assistant. You type in a request, it responds with text. It does analysis, summaries, or ideas. It's great for helping you write any type of a report, any emails, anything that you needed assistance on writing. It also can help you with brainstorming, summarizing, doing data analysis, or organizing information is what I use it for sometimes as well. But it's just as important to understand what Claude is not. It is not a guaranteed source of truth, and it can sound confident even when it's wrong. And that's what you find with any of your AI tools, whether you're using ChatGPT, you're using Gemini, you're using Copilot, they all are that same thing. It is not automatically connected to your email, your Teams, your files, unless you provide that content yourself. And it is never your final editor or decision maker because that responsibility stays with you just like any of your other AI chatting tools. So the bottom line is use Claude to speed up your thinking and drafting, but rely on people and verified sources for really those final decisions. So why should you use Claude? Well, for me, the biggest benefit is that it really helps you move faster while really keeping you in control of that final result. So instead of staring at a blank page, you can be asking Claude to save you time on first drafts. You can use it to clarify your thinking by organizing ideas or comparing options. It can improve your communication by really adjusting the tone that's being used, simplifying wording for a specific audience. It really is there to help you work through complex information by truly summarizing long text or explaining unfamiliar topics. And it is a fast way to generate ideas when you need a fresh starting point. And that's where I love Claude. Now, you may have access to more than one AI tool at work. So let's talk about when to use each one. So reach for Claude when you want really that thoughtful writing, the analysis, the reasoning about content you provide directly to the app. I would use Microsoft Copilot when the task really depends on the work content being inside Microsoft 365, like Teams meetings, Word, or Excel. Not that Claude can't be connected, it can, but I'll talk about that here in just a second. Also, ChatGPT. When you use ChatGPT, this is my thought process, just so you know, this is all my opinions. I use ChatGPT when I want more of a flexible general purpose assistant for a wide variety of tasks. So, kind of the simplest way to kind of remember it is Claude for content you bring. Use Copilot if it's already information that is in 365 or you wanted to analyze emails, those kind of things. And use ChatGPT for more of a general purpose use. Okay. There are special skills that are built into Claude, a little bit beyond our scope of our session here today. But for those of you that are more familiar with what does Copilot do, I wanted to kind of share a little bit about Claude skills versus a Copilot agent. So as you get more comfortable, you will hear about two ways to really customize AI. So we have Claude skills versus Copilot agents. A Claude skill is simply a folder of instructions or scripts and resources that Cloud loads only when it's relevant to your task. So think of it as an onboarding notes that really turn a general purpose assistant into a specialist. And Claude picks the right one to use automatically. So it's like you have all of these different skills entered, and Claude goes to those skills when it recognizes that you're working in that specific area. So an agent is actually different. It is a purpose-built helper that lives inside of Microsoft 365, grounded into your work, going through your data, through really it uses Microsoft Graph in the end, in the background. So we build those based on using things directly through 365. Now, when we kind of compare applications, when we talk about AI applications, each one of your applications will have a free version. Now, of course, free versions do not include everything. So Claude is no different. There is a free version, which is great for getting started. But if your organization says that Claude is an AI tool that you're available to use, they're most likely going to have pro versions, team versions, or an enterprise version that you will have access to. So I'm actually using a pro version of really Claude today. So that's what you're going to be seeing today. So it can be used to develop code. It can be used with projects, but it will depend on what your organization allows. So, big side note, red flag all the time is we always have to know what's allowed at my company. You don't want to bring in your personal version of Claude and start using your company data unless that's allowed. So, you do want to know what your IT policy is for AI use. So, if you're not sure, reach out to your IT team. That's 100% what my recommendation would be because Yes, getting started with the free version is usually where people will start. Then, once you start to see, wow, this is a great tool to use, you might want to have a Claude license so that you'll have full access to the benefits and the features. There's different pricing structures, of course, and that's something IT can manage for you. You don't have to worry about. Okay. But I want you to get a good understanding as to what exactly does the user interface of Claude give you? So it's going to be similar to what you see with other AI tools like ChatGPT or Copilot, where we'll have a conversation area. You're going to have a menu on the left-hand side. And let me kind of walk you through what this all looks like. So if I open up my Claude window, and by the way, I'm using the desktop, which is kind of strange that there's actually, you can use it online or you can download the desktop app. I'm using the desktop app because I want to have that shortcut right on my taskbar, making it super easy to get to. Because my habits at the start of my day is I open up my email, I open up Teams, I'm opening up Claude, and I'm ready to go for the day. And I use my Claude skills to have it help me know what do I need to be working on today. But I just wanted to give you a quick general overview as to what exactly do you see when you open up the Claude app. Whether you're online or the desktop, it doesn't matter. It's going to work the same. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see your navigation pane, very similar to what you would have in any of your apps. Up at the top, you do have two tabs. One is Home, which is what you're seeing on my screen right now. The second one is called Code. Code is going to change some of your options that you have on the left-hand side. Also down at the bottom, it's got a getting started with Claude Code. I am actually not familiar with the Claude Code. That is not an area that I personally work with yet, but I'm doing some training myself to learn what I could do with that to make it a better tool for me to use. So I'm excited about that. We can talk about those more advanced features later. So today we're going to focus on the Home tab. So what you're going to see on the left-hand side is you have access to creating a new chat. Just like any one of your AI tools, if you're switching conversations, do a new chat. Don't blend conversations together because, of course, it does keep history. And it does have a memory built into it, so it remembers previous conversations and things like that. But you want to be able to go back to individual topics of conversation with the system and not have things be all cluttered together. So always start a new one. It also has built-in projects. So let's say that I'm working with my team and we have I'm in accounting and we're working on a new inventory process that we want to have to kind of improve that workflow. We could be gathering information together into a project and share it with multiple people, just like we can do with other AI tools. We also have the option for customize. Highly recommend you access this customize. What customize does is it opens up the settings window, which can also be accessed by going to your account at the bottom left of the navigation pane. But it's a quick jump to if you click on customize. But when you go to customize, it's going to take you directly into the skills category. The skills category is a more advanced feature we'll talk about in a different session, but under the settings category on the left, I would recommend going through each of these to see if there's different changes you want to make to the way the system is working and the way it looks. So you have a general category where you can ask or give it the information about how do you want it to address you, because it does have voice information that it can do. Plus, every time you come in, it's got this little welcome thing at the top with your name. So what do you want it to call you? So just that personal, because we always think of these as an assistant, and I'm starting to think, I swear they're human. So it's nice to have that person to kind of, have it personalized for you. But anyway, you have access to your account information. There's privacy categories, which you definitely want to be checking out some of those. It's got billing, it's got usage options. And by the way, some of these models, which I'll get to here in a second, actually use credits. So, depending on the model, which is the GPT side of things, on how it's actually going out and taking your prompt and processing it, some of those are based on credits. So, some of the things within each of your AI tools, like ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., Claude is no different on that because it's going to give you the ability to do certain things, but it has limitations. So if we go beyond those limitations, there can be extra costs. But those are things that your department can handle for you. They'll take care of that and limit what your access might be based on the money that they're putting into these credits. So we won't worry so much about that here today. But the capabilities category, this is where you can see that it generates memory from chat history. So it's got research and reference chats. So those kind of things can be turned on and turned off. Also, if you want to connect to other systems, this is where you could do that as well. It's got this reflect option where you can base your conversations. It's got time and focus that you can be entering in, where you can be putting in focus time, where you want to be focused on working on specific tasks. It's also got a built-in co-work. That's definitely a session that we should be doing, Macy, on a future class that is available, that all AI tools now have this new coworker built in, which it works through like Copilot has one, Claude has one, Gemini's adding one, ChatGPT is adding one. Everybody's doing these new co-works. And these are going to be built-in processes, workflows that the system can do. Another day for all of that. So, anyway, I would highly recommend going through some of these categories. Make sure things are turned on or turned off based on what your needs are. Your IT department may have some recommendations as to things, depending on your policies and procedure guides, but just so you're aware of that. Now, also, just so you're aware, how do you kind of get started with creating something? Well, what if you open up Claude and you're not sure what to ask? They actually include starter prompts. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can go into a category. Like if you're going to be working on writing something, go into the right, the icon right below the chat window. Or, and by the way, these change. These change, and mine will change throughout the day to give me a different one. But it doesn't mean I can't, do writing if it doesn't show writing. It's just a starter point, and I'll show you in a second how to use those. So it's pretty cool, actually. But look for those down below because it's a great way to really kind of get your thought process started or to practice using what you have going on. So just I'll show you how to use all of those here in just a moment. So when it comes to this user interface, we want to make sure that we feel comfortable with what is going on for the different features that we have. So you could see that on the right-hand side, it knows that my name is Jolynn. So it's giving me this, what's cooking, Jolynn. It will say, good evening, Jolynn. It will say, good afternoon, Jolynn. It will change the message that we have. But looking at the actual chat window, you could just type in exactly what it is that you're looking for. You also, if you have access to co-work, you'll be able to toggle in between chat and co-work. Now, I don't have my co-work turned on for this session here today based on the account that I'm using, but just so you're familiar with the fact that if you have the rights to use co-work, that option would be available as well. But you have the plus sign, just like you do in other AI tools, where this allows you to add in a file. So if you want to analyze an Excel file or anything like that, which I'm going to demonstrate some of those for you live so that you can see how does really Claude handle my Word document or my Excel file or whatever it is that I attach to it. You can also add your conversation directly to a project that you're working on. Also, we can access our skills and we have our connectors. The connectors is related to going into add and saying, I want to add a connection to my Gmail account. I want to add a connection to my Microsoft account. But word of caution, Don't do that unless you know you have permissions to do that through your organization. Okay. So, anyway, just so you can see some of these options that you have, there's also plugins we can add in, but by default, it is doing a web search. So, in some AI tools, we tell it if we want to use our connections, we want to use just the web to be searching for whatever it is we're doing. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to find your microphone. And then you also have this voice mode that you can go into where you can see that I can let it access my microphone. So this is where I can access my settings. Now, I'm not going to be turning it on during my class because my microphone is being used through our session here today. So just so you know what it was for that icon. And then we also have these different modes, and that's the GPT that I was referring to. So, and these, they're really models. I said modes. Models, these different models that we have. So when we chat with the system, what model do we want it to use based on, am I doing research? Am I doing just a quick lookup on something? Do I want a deep analysis? You can use, and it gives you a little bit of a description for each one of these. And I do have that in your handouts as well. But you can see that you can pick different models that you can be using depending on the type of chatting you're doing with the system. Now, I do have a slide for that here that I can quick run you through as well. So use the one that will work best for whatever it is that you're analyzing. So if I'm doing something based on multiple steps on a large project, I would probably use Fable. So it's got different memory aids, it's got deep reasoning. So really just kind of depending on what it is that you're doing, you can always switch models. Now that of course can be, it can, some systems can automatically switch to a different model depending on what you're prompting it. Here you choose your model before you prompt. Okay. So all depending on, of course, what it is that you want to do. So when it comes to actually doing prompts, before I start my live demo session here, just a little bit about writing better prompts. Just like any of your AI tools, no matter which one you're using, you really want to take advantage of getting good responses back. So if we are very generic on what it is that we are asking our AI tool, it's going to give you a very generic response. So what you give it is what you're going to get back. The more you give it, the better your responses are going to be. So if I just said, write an email about a delay, I'm not really giving it everything that I should. I'm giving it the task. I want it to write an email about a delay, but I'm not really telling it the full context, the background that matters. So give it more detail. Also, the audience. Who am I writing this for? What is this report that I want Claude to create? If it's going to be on HSE information, and it's going to be for, the operations group. I want to tell Claude that that's who I want that information to be created for so that it formats it the correct way and uses the correct terminology. Also, the format. How do you want the information organized? Do you want table information? Do you want it to be formatted with, standard highlighting or whatever your case might be? You tell it what it is that you want it to do. Also, different constraints. Limit what it is. Tell it if you wanted to have so many words or you wanted to avoid certain jargon, I wanted to create a PowerPoint that is 10 slides. Give it those limitations as to those constraints that you want to limit it to. You know, if you give it generic, it's going to give you generic. Okay. So let's do a few prompt options so that you can get a better idea as to what exactly can it do? So here in Claude, I was mentioning just something very generic. So let me get Claude on the screen here. I'm going to keep it on the default of the model that it's actually using. And I'm just going to put in something very generic. I want to say, write an email about a delay. Is I click send or click the go button, it's automatically going to do that. So just so you can see, how does Claude respond to this? I love this part of using Claude. So it says, I could put together an email about a delay, but I need a couple of details. It walks you through a wizard to ask you more information. And this is a recent update that Claude has done. Love it. I think this is one of my favorite things. So it says, who is the email going to? Is it going to management and leadership? Is it going to a vendor or a partner? Who exactly is it going to? I'm going to say it's going to a client or a customer. Then it's also asking me, and by the way, it's got a button to go back and forth if I want to go back and change my answer, but it's got three prompt questions that it's asking me to help clarify before it generates it. So it says, what's being delayed? Is a meeting, a shipment, a payment? What exactly is being delayed? Well, I'm going to say it's a shipment or an order that's being delayed. And then what kind of a tone do you want it to use? If I don't give that in my initial prompt, it's going to come back and give me this wizard to make sure that I am asking those or answering those specific questions. I think that is so awesome. It's so smart. So anyway, I want it to be reassuring. I click on whatever my tone is, it will start to generate it. Now, did I give it a lot of detail? Not a ton. I didn't tell it any information about what was the order. I could have been a little bit more detailed on what the real reason behind it, why was it delayed? What was the contents of the order, whatever, but you could see that it automatically gives me the answer. So it has my rundown at the top of what it is that I had answered for those questions, and then it's going to give you the actual context itself. So you could see down at the bottom it says filled in with placeholders for the name and the new date. So you would take this, copy it, and down below, of course, you have your icons that if you want to copy this into an email, you could do that. Now, of course, if you were connected to your Outlook, your Gmail, etc., you could have had it use that connected system as well. But you can see that I can have it read it back to me. I can say, this was a good response, just kind of letting Claude know that it was a good response. You could see I could do bad response, or I could say, hey, can you just retry this for me? I want you to kind of rewrite it and see what else we come up with. But I'm just going to go ahead and copy it. And then I could see I got a check mark. I know it was copied. I could then go ahead and just paste it. But what if I wanted to start with giving it a little bit more detail instead? I don't want to start with just something generic. I want to start with a little bit more detail where I wanted to write a professional email to a client explaining the project is delayed by 1 week because we are waiting on final approval. Keep the tone calm, accountable, and solution focused. Include a short apology, a next expected date, and the next step. So I could feed it what it is that I want. And it will automatically, if it had any extra questions, it would come back and give you that wizard you could walk through again. And wizards are wonderful because it walks you through that step-by-step process. But it automatically can give you that full realm of what it is that you were looking for. So when you think about prompting, the more you give it, the better the result is going to be. Or you can give it something, this is my idea. What kind of things can Claude come back and ask me? Okay. So it kind of depends on what it is that you're working with. If you had, what if you were in sales and you wanted to do a, sales option email? I would start a new chat. And you could do the keyboard shortcut Control N or click on new at the top left so that you're starting from a brand new chat. But if I wanted to write a professional follow-up to a prospect about attending our webinar, etc., I could type all that detail in and Claude's going to automatically generate that. Now, I was telling it, things like keep it helpful but not pushy. Give it the details that you want. Kind of take what your thoughts are on, if you were going to manually write it. Now, what if you already did write it and you decided, this is how I wrote it, and I'm just going to copy and paste this for time frame, but what if I started an email and I need help on rewriting it? I could take what I started with, bring it into Claude, and I could say, help me rewrite this. So I would go up to the top and say, rewrite this to sound more friendly. So I could automatically have it help me rewrite something. And I got to tell you, that's something that I do daily because I try on my own. And then it's like, you know what? I'm not real sure if that sounds right or not. I put it into Claude, and Claude helps me to make it sound the way I really had expected it. But sometimes I just can't get it out of my, head. It just doesn't come through. Or what if you have brainstorming that you need to do? Or you need to come up with a new idea for team building. That's where Claude is great. So, just to give you an idea, I started a new chat and I'm going to let it know we are working on a long project and the team needs some help with communication. What can you recommend? Now, I'm not being real specific, but just to give you an idea about what exactly does Claude give you when you ask it things like that. So, if you practice things that tend to move the needle on team communication, set a communication cadence, use a single running status. I can ask for examples. Can I use to teach the team? We could be asking it, can you write a 10-minute communication training that I could do during our next meeting and make it so that they don't even know that they're being trained on something. We're just having a casual conversation. So it is amazing what I am having Claude help me with these days. And that is actually an example of something that I realistically did. We had some miscommunications and stuff that were happening during a project that I was working on. People were kind of forgetting things. And so I just wanted to kind of go through during a meeting, here's some things that we might need to work on right now, blah, blah, blah. And I had Claude help me build it and write it. It was pretty cool. And I actually had it, I said the tone needs to be funny, very friendly, really kind of help with keep the momentum going of the project. It's amazing what it can do. I've also recently had it help me put together a new process for HR. I had a client reach out to me and ask for some help on how they could really structure the organization of their new employee process. And Claude helped me with that. So, kind of sky's the limit on what it is that Claude's going to be able to help you with. But I want to give you a few, what do I do with a file? How can it actually help me with that type of information? So let me start a new chat, which, as you can see on the left-hand side, it's actually keeping this history of previous chats. So if I go back, just to show you this real quick, if I go back to this professional follow-up on email, it takes me right back to where I was, and I could continue that conversation. But what if this is a chat that I never need to see again, or a chat that I want to have available because we have so many chats and I want to pin it at the top? You can manage your chats just by hesitating on the name of the chat on the left-hand side. You'll get this little menu. When you click on that icon, you can pin it, you can mark it as unread so it stands out. You can rename it because if you want to name it something different than what it generically named it so that you know exactly what it is, you can actually do that. You can also take this and add it to a project. So if I start having it help me with ideas, brainstorming, that kind of thing, and it's going to be something that I want to collect a bunch of information into a project, I could say, hey, take this chat and put it into an existing project. I would create the project first, and then I can add my previous chats that I've done. And I've gone back and done that in the past. Also, if I never need to see it again, I can just delete it because you don't want to keep chats that you know you're never going to go back to again. So just so you could see, you could do that. Also, under this recent category, while I'm explaining this, if I want to view all chats, because I can't see all of them on the left-hand side, you have an icon to do that, this arrow at the top of this. Also, you have another menu of more options. You can go into the types, which is going to include tasks that you are doing through your skills as well. You can also go into statuses where you have active, you can have archived, you can see all of them. Or if you want to just see the activities that you've done in the past 7 days, you can have it filter your list. So you could either see all of the chats or just the ones that you've previously been working on. And we have the ability to organize them into groups. That to me is a unique feature that not all AI tools allow you to do, and I love it. So if I want to have things organized based on these are my chats related to this topic, this topic, this topic, you can do that as well. So just so you could see, we could do things based on type, based on status, based on the date range, however it is that you want to group them together. And I know that they're going to be making a couple of changes to these settings as well. I was kind of reading up on what's coming, for the rest of the year and stuff. Because this is a somewhat newer AI tool, of course, they're always making improvements and making changes, and there's always exciting things that it's going to be able to do. But let's dive into some examples of how can I use this with my documents. It doesn't matter if it's a PDF file, if it's a text file, a CSV file, Excel, it's a Google Sheets, whatever the case might be, it can be attached. You could just simply copy and paste data, or you can attach a file. So just to give you a couple of ideas, I'm going to go to the plus sign. I'm going to say I want to add files or photos. I'm going to run out to a couple of these, and I'm going to start out with this operations scheduling process report. So I'm attaching a Word document. I'll do that as my first demo here. So basically, it's looking at the document, and I'm going to ask it or tell it what I want it to do. I could ask it questions about the file, or I could ask it what I want it to do with the information in that file. And sometimes I do both. Give me a summary of the information in this file. I could attach two files and ask it to compare the two files. I could have it give me a summary of 10 files. Whatever it is that you need to do, it is amazing. I'd use that kind of thing all the time. But anyway, let me just show you an example. So, what if I wanted to create a new Word doc based on the attached file that will be an executive report for leadership to evaluate. I'll just put it as that for right now. Now, I usually talk to it, by the way, because I'm basically like, if I had, if I was going to manually do it, I'm really running it through my head on what it is that I would manually be doing. So I just basically talk to the system instead of just doing it in my head. I say it out loud to the system. I don't always type it out, but it depends on what I'm doing. So just so you could see how it's analyzing it, it's reading through the documentation. And I like the fact that it tells you where it's at within its thought process. So you can see that it's now creating that executive report tailored to, so you can see the clarification of it understanding what it is that I asked it to do. So it goes through the details. I like the fact that it does that. So anyway, it's creating the file. It will take just a minute for it to do it, but I got to tell you, the couple of seconds that it takes for it to generate this is so worth the time because think about it if you had to manually do it. I don't really like that word manual. I'd rather have AI tools do that for me. And I got to tell you, Claude has been a breath of fresh air to me. It has been such a great option to be using. So anyway, it's generating that, it's rendering taking that file and looking through it to make sure that it's getting everything verified. So it will create that for me. Now I can have it repair a response that I need. So I could take an existing document, an existing PowerPoint, whatever the case might be. And one thing that I did recently was I had it was actually based on an electric company, and they have a spreadsheet of data that they analyze and have to do a weekly report on. And what I had Claude do is I attached the original document of the report. I attached the Excel file that they stored the data in and asked it to update the document, create a new document with the updates and, put in the current date and all of that. And Claude did it. Just so you know, it is that powerful to be able to do that. But look what it does by default. So what it did was on the right-hand side, it opened up a preview of what that document looks like. Now, could you have generated that on your own in just that 2 minutes that it used to create this? I am impressed. It is very, very easy to use. But just so you could see what it gave you on the left-hand side. So it's telling you that the report rendered cleanly across all pages, copying to outputs. So it's done and it's giving me what it did. So executive summary, the business case for change, the purpose or the proposed solution, etc., formatted in an formatting is polished for review, blah, blah, blah. It's telling me all these things. Now, I didn't tell it what format to use. I could have. I could have said, use these colors, use these fonts, whatever. But you can see that it gives me the download and open. But before I download and open this to show you, what it just also gave you at the bottom is next time, try this in co-work. So hand off complex tasks for Claude to handle it independently. If this is something you're going to do regularly, you could actually try it with Cowork. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to close that message because I'm not using Cowork today, but just so you could see that. So if I click download and open, it's going to go ahead and open up that file that it generated right within Microsoft Word. So do I need to have it connected? I'm not connected to my Microsoft account right now, but I could tell it that I wanted it to be a Word document. I can tell it that I want it to be Google Sheets, whatever the case might be, and it's going to generate the file format exactly how you ask it to do it. So I think this is actually pretty great. Now, it's got some things that you're going to need to go through and make sure that you want to keep, make sure that everything is accurate, because remember, we always need that human touch at the end. So you could see that it automatically generated a very professional document. Now, one other thing that I just want to point out, it generated it in the newest file format of Microsoft Word. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because Copilot doesn't. Do not ask me why, because I have no idea. But if I go to Copilot and have it create a new Word document, when I go to open it, it's in compatibility mode. It's not even the newest version of Word. So I don't have any of the newest features. You have to convert it. Claude doesn't do that. Claude actually gives it to you in the latest file format. Go figure. I don't know what's going on with Microsoft on that one. But anyway, just so you could see what it did. But I want to really show off a great feature that it has working with an Excel file. So let me go back into a new chat because this is a totally new topic that I wanted to do. First, I'm going to attach the file. Well, first I should show, well, let me show you the file real quick, just so you have an idea. Okay, so let me get into the file. I want to just quick show it to you so that you'll understand how great this is. So I have this worksheet or workbook, I should say, of all these different sheets at the bottom. It's got HR information, HSE, accounting, production by well, maintenance costs, all this different information. And what I wanted to do is to create a report based on the HSE incidents. So just so you could see that I have this and it has lots of different data in here. But I don't want to analyze all this myself. I want to get a summary of all of that information. And I can have that output be whatever type of output it is that I need it to be. So I'm going to click the plus sign so I can add in a file. I'm going to go back to that add files or photos. I just navigate out to my files. So let me jump out to that file. Doo, doo, doo. So this is the Excel file that I'm going to have it use. So what I wanted to actually do then is I wanted to create and I'm going to have it do a Word document that will summarize the HSE incidences for the first half of 2026. So I'm telling it the date range that I want it to use. And this will be given to the the operations team. So I'm telling it some things. I'm telling it to create a new Word document that will summarize that HSE information from that attached file. I should say from the attached workbook for the first half of the year for the operations team and format this professionally using, oops, well, I can leave that there. Format this professionally using light blue and red. Just pick some colors that I wanted to use just so you could see. I'm going to go ahead and click send and it's going to automatically analyze that workbook first. It's going to really kind of look through what it is that I asked it to do and it will automatically generate things back out. These are the things that I do on a daily basis. I am always having it look at, here's my current PowerPoint. What are some suggestions on what it is that I might want to say during this safety training? Um, what are some topics that might be missing from the safety training based on, current trends? What are some new things that I could be doing that we're not currently doing? And here's our current process. It is amazing to me what responses I get from Claude. It has helped me to save hours of time every day. Now, just think what you can do in 15 minutes by using Claude, even if it saves you an hour a day. That's an hour you have to work on things that might be more important. So, anyway, just so you can see, it started to read through the skills file. It's examining that spreadsheet for the incidences. It's matching up the HSE information, etc. The data range is all 2024. There's no 2026. I must have grabbed the wrong file. Sorry, that was me. I thought I had the 2026 information. So it's letting me know that, but it's going to build that document for me. It's creating charts or images. And by the way, it's excellent at doing images. So if you want to have a file that, or even just say, take this image and regenerate it to use this information. take this out of it and put this in there, use my logo and add it to this image, or create a brand new image using my logo on the coffee cup and have a person sitting at a desk with a bunch of clutter because I'm talking about chaos, clutter, and control. Whatever the case might be, Claude can do that. It's amazing the different things. You just got to try it. It's really just a matter of breaking your habits. Make sure you have the Claude licensing that you need, but just try it. The next time you need help with anything, go to Claude. Okay. So anyway, it's creating the document now, and I want to show you what that document actually comes out as, because when you stop and think about having thousands of records, the easiest way to get something created is to say, hey, just look at this and give me a summary on it. Now, if you wanted specific summarized information, like I want it to be categorized by this column, I want to have a dashboard. It can do that. It can create an actual dashboard. If I say I wanted to have pivot tables, those kind of things, it's amazing what Claude can actually do. So anyway, it will come back with that here in a second while I'm waiting for it to generate all of that. When it comes to, you know, just kind of wrapping up what Claude does and kind of thinking about your next steps on what it is that you want to do. I'm going to come back to that in just a second, but just to kind of take you back, when you are doing your prompt, if you do not fulfill each one of these different categories, you're probably going to get a wizard that's going to come back and help for clarification. But if I'm kind of, brainstorming and thinking about what it is that I'm asking of Claude, I usually am putting in those pieces. Or if it doesn't ask me and it gave me something that, I want changes to, it's just a matter of reprompting again and asking it to make those changes. Because we can't always think of everything at the beginning, and it can't do that either. So those wizards that you get, it's not going to ask you every specific about what it is you're trying to get it to do for you. So sometimes you have to kind of generate it, and then it's like you look at it and it's like, oh, wait, now I need this. It can do that. Don't worry about it. Just go back and reprompt it. Not an issue whatsoever. Okay. But just to kind of take you through safe and responsible use. So before we wrap up and I go back to that last demo, I really wanted to cover Claude safety and responsibility. So AI tools are extremely helpful, but they can make mistakes or miss context. So treat Claude as an assistant, but not the final authority. Protect sensitive information and never paste confidential or regulated data unless your organization allows it. Always verify important facts like names, dates, calculations. Watch for bias by reviewing the outputs for assumptions or even missing perspectives. And use your own human judgment. You're responsible for approving that final work. So don't generate something, copy and just paste it without reviewing it and putting your own spin on it. Okay. Make sure that you cover all of those. So let me jump back into Claude here. So Claude works directly in Excel. So I could say install. So it knows that I'm not connected to Excel right now. So it's saying, hey, do you want to connect? And I can work directly with it. I'm not going to have it do that. But look what it did on the right-hand side. I told it the colors that I wanted it to use. Probably wouldn't do those colors, but just so you could see. It automatically gives me my heading up at the top, first half of 2026. I know that it's not using the correct date range, but that's something I would have to verify. So I would need to go back and say, use this file instead, or give me the information based on that current context. Because your Excel file or whatever you're having it analyze needs to be accurate for this to come out accurate, but always double check things. Okay. So you can see what it actually generated. As I scroll through this, look at the formatting. It even gave headers and footers. It's got page numbering. It included charts. So here's the monthly trends, incidents by type. severity breakdown, resolution status. Look at all this information. How long would it have taken you to create this? For me, a couple hours probably. But I got 5 pages of data that all I have to do is go back and verify it, put my own little spin on it, add whatever needs to be added, and it's ready to be shared. That's the way I want to work. And I'm thinking you probably want to do that too. So when it comes to using Claude, besides beside the safe and responsible use part of this, it's a matter of, you know, getting access to Claude first, of course. Once you have access to it, key takeaways that I want you to have and some next steps that we'll talk about. First, really kind of just use Claude for the right work, including long form writing, critiquing, your brainstorming, really kind of that structure of your first drafts. Choose between Copilot and Claude based on where your information lives. What's going to be the best method for you based on what you're working on? Remember that prompt quality really does matter, and that strong prompts, including task, context, audience, format, and constraints, really does matter. Follow-up prompts are completely normal. So repair a weak answer, instead of starting over, just reprompt. Above all, you own that final result. So always review, verify, and then for your next step, pick one routine task this week and try a prompt with it. Don't wait to start. Start now. So, really, pick a routine that you do regularly, something that you need to rewrite, something that you want to analyze. Ask Claude to really do the first draft for you. Then refine it and ask it different things and, start learning how it responds for you. Verify the results and personalize it for your own voice, your own purpose, and your organizational standards. And you will be able to have professional output on something that you didn't have to manually do. Okay. So I hope you got a good understanding of what exactly Claude is and how it can really help you in the long run. So, Macy, did we have any questions come through from the group today?
It does not look like we have any that have come through, but if anybody has any last minute questions that they want to throw into the chat, I can monitor that as they come through.
Excellent. Oops.
While we are waiting to see if anybody has any questions, we just wanted to thank you guys on behalf of the IT company for joining us. If you guys have any follow-up questions around Claude, we are heavily using it within our organization. And so we have lots of people who would be happy to answer questions, help you guys as far as getting to use it a little bit more hands-on. So feel free to reach out to myself or somebody at our organization if you have any follow-up questions or would like any additional help. We do have another webinar coming up in August. So it will be August 19th, and it will be on Copilot in Teams and how to use that and how to maximize it. If you would like to join us for that, just keep an eye out for registration, and it will come through email as well as being posted on social media and LinkedIn. And let's see, we did have 2 questions come through. So somebody would like to know how it is different than Copilot overall.
Well, the way that it really analyzes the data and the skills that it has built in really give it that extra boost. Otherwise, when it comes to the app itself, I love that it does the wizard. Regular Copilot app does not have that just yet, although it's coming. So, and another thing that I really think Claude has above Copilot is the connectivity to other third-party applications, not just your 365. So if you have a different system that is authorized through your organization that you can connect with Claude, it's wonderful with that. The memory is great on it understanding, if you're doing the same similar, I'm always doing it for this group and I'm with this company, it understands all of that and it's very, very smart. Give it a try. You're going to be impressed.
Yeah, I will say I'm using Claude for quite a few things on my own end. And one of the features I've been using is Claude Design with
Oh,
some of the, I was
yes.
going to say, documents and creating just different graphics and all the different things that
Yes.
designing banners for like trade shows and different stuff. So it is pretty powerful. So if you're not using it, I was going to say everything Jolynn said,
Yeah.
I can attest to from my own experience with using it. It's pretty incredible. So and then just one other question came through about if the PowerPoint is available for all attendees. And so we do send the recording of this out to everybody. So be on the lookout for that. And that'll have obviously the visuals of the slides for the PowerPoint as well. And then actually one more question just came through for you,
Yeah.
Jolynn. They would like to know, can different agents be running on it to do different things?
Yes. So called skills, but yes. And vice versa. If you're talking Copilot agents, yes. So both do multiples.
Awesome. Well, one more question. Sorry, a couple coming through. One more just came in and said, would you recommend using Copilot and Claude, not Claude in place of Copilot? Like you mentioned, Copilot is good for emails and things connected to
Yeah.
Microsoft 365.
Yes. And I do. I do use both. So if I'm just doing chatting and I wanted to help me rewrite things or analyze something, a lot of times I'm just going to use Claude. But if I know I want it to act because I'm not connected, if I know I want to say, give me a summarization on what it is that I need to do today, look at all my emails, blah, 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 I'm going to do that in Copilot. Good question.
Awesome. Okay, I think that is it. Again, thank you guys so much for joining. I will be sending out the recording if you want to refer back to anything. And we hope to talk to you guys soon about how to use Claude a little bit more. And we hope that you will join us for our next webinar on Copilot. Thank you, Jolynn.
Thanks.